So let's review estimating. So I'm going to draw a line here, and let's estimate that midpoint, and then double check your work. I like to use the metal ferrule of the eraser and just pinching on the pencil, and I can check that way. That looks pretty close that way. If you want to use a ruler when you're starting to double check your work, you can. But the idea is not to use a ruler, but to get good at estimating it. So you can see here, this is a little over 1.5 inches, 1 5/8 inches, and then this one over here is more like 1 3/4 inches. So certainly not perfect, but that's the general idea that we're going for, is just learning how to estimate, particularly bisecting lines, and then you can just continue doing it, estimating it, and then double checking your work. The vast majority of the time you're just going to be dividing your line segments in half, but there are some occasions where you want to be able to do it in thirds, which is a little bit more difficult, but it's still something that's worthwhile being able to do. Let's review the contour. So again, the contour, when you're making a shape, you're thinking about all those little different plane changes, and think about kind of like the sense of touch, right? All those little nooks and crannies going in and out to help describe the form. So let's put it together, the idea of measuring, blocking in. So when I'm looking at this little toy shovel here, I can think about what is the height of it, or the width of it, to the other dimension. So 1, 2, 3, 4-ish. So basically, it's kind of like a, if I was to imagine a box around it, it'd be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 by 4-ish. Okay? And when I'm looking at it, the part of the shovel head before it starts curving here is about, it's about 1-ish. So that's fairly square right there. And if I look out to this area, again comparing, it's like about another, yeah, maybe another inch here, so that'd be like there, 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 and then maybe 2 inches there, and that's going to be about less than an inch, but is it a little more than a 1/2 inch? This part looks like it's about a 1/2 inch. It looks like it's about a 1/4 inch, right? So that's like going to be like sort of the idea that I'm thinking of. So what I want to do to draw it then is I'm gonna sign like this, probably draw my center line, decide about where it's gonna be. Then I could try doing that midpoint. And then divide it in half again. Divide it in half again. Let's see. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I was going to say that part of the shovel here, I can divide it apart right there, right? And then let's go ahead and get the overall height. It's going to be something like that sort of idea right there. And this height right here, what do you think that is? It's about, seems like that's about 1/4 inch as well. So guesstimate that. I can kind of double check it. Good. find this midpoint. Right. And I can see also that this tapers down. There's an angle going on here, like that, here, and here. So if I was to guess that angle, I'd be going something like that. And then from there, I can get this roundness. And how about how tall that is, how skinny is that? So if I go compare that to the widest part, 1, 2. I'm only measuring up to the midway line. I'm getting either 2 or 3 widths to the to this here. So if I was to break this into thirds or something, it'd be something about like that. So I'll estimate that. And estimate that. And then I'm going to want that to step down a little for that contour. Alright, so now I have it what I would call blocked in, right? So once I have it blocked in, I guess the step I sort of didn't do is usually when I'm showing it to people, I try to have people put an entire rectangle like that around it, but I skipped that in this one, but that's fine. So now what I want to do is I want to do the contour. So I want to think about all those little bumps and indentations. So I'm going to carefully think about wherever things transition, about what is that going to look like. So just that subtle little plane changes. And I know I've decided it might not be perfect, but I've established with my breakdown where all those little visual events are going to take place, and I try to stick to that blueprint, which isn't always all that much fun to make. But now that I have that established, what I can do is I can put in all those contours going around on my breakdown. So I could fill in more and what have you, but for this exercise, all I want to do is establish the proportions where those different visual events are going to be, and then really think about every little plane change, even the little, especially maybe right now, those little subtle changes, and using those as visual clues for something changing and how that might tap into our sense of touch about, letting the viewer know what's going to happen with the form.